I made this presentation on urban villages in Delhi as well as Mumbai, and how they differ from small towns and the fringe villages in these cities is quite significant, really, because these are villages which are located in the middle of the city. So the kind of opportunities they have to access urban jobs is quite significant. On the other hand, the poor who live are really the migrants who've come from the villages in search of better employment opportunities. And they are quite poor. They live in very poor conditions, perhaps staying a whole family in a room and sharing services like latrines and bathrooms. And the environmental conditions are not too good. So even though the access to jobs is much better, but then when you look at it from the environmental point of view, they're certainly much worse off than the poor in smaller towns as well as in the peripheral areas. The rural-urban linkages of these people are really very complex. Like, first of all, you have the original villagers whose farmlands were swallowed up for city development. Now, those are the original villagers. And then you have the tenants, the renters, who are again the migrants from rural areas who come and then find rental housing in these places. Actually, Pura is a very innovative program which aims at two things. One is to improve living conditions in villages, and second is that with this improved infrastructure that is provided to villages, it attracts also jobs and industry, so that people don't really have to migrate to the city to find work. But that part of it is still to be realized. But what has happened is that in the larger villages, which have been selected for the Pura program, we certainly see a better way of life of the villagers themselves. They have better facilities for water, for sanitation, and so on. I think there are a lot of similarities between India and China if you look at it on the surface. But I think the political and administrative systems of these two countries are quite different. Like in the case of India, where we have a democracy and the voices of the poor can reach much more easily than they can in the case of China, I feel. On the other hand, China is much stronger in terms of implementation and enforcement than India is. And that also in the Indian case, there are too many voices which democracy throws up with diverse kinds of interests, which hampers development, if you like. We have fantastic policies, but then the implementation of these policies is a big question, especially when they're for the poor. But I think China that way stands a better chance because you don't have so many of these different voices emerging. So I think there are, give and take both ways. So, but what we can learn is from each other. I think we're both big countries and emerging as big economies. And the interest of both these countries is to, develop towards more inclusive growth, which also includes the poor. So I think there is a lot that we can learn. Like, for instance, India can learn a lot from the health system, the education system in China. And perhaps China can learn from India about how to represent the interests of the poor in higher levels of government.